usually the caregiver, at hindi tayo yun. Usually it's the husband. Kaya natuwa ako doon sa mga institutions na nag-aalaw ng presence ng husband, especially in the delivery area. I understand the concern with regard to privacy of other patients in that area. But again, this is something that is true, evidence-based, that there is a fourth P that can actually affect progress of labor, and that is cycling. And that is actually can be resolved by the presence of the partner. So I have shown this to you. Sabi nga natin kanina, prolongation, nasa latent phase lang yan. Pag active phase, you concentrate on protraction as well as in rest. So as how emphasized kanina, no, the emphasis is really of this review is really on the bulletin, because the bulletin, as mentioned, has already clarified the confusion that we are having when we are reading Williams. So, okay. Sabi nga natin, tatlong disorder prolongation which happens in the latent phase. So, the definition for newly and multi will be different. So, for example, you admitted this patient at 1 centimeter. Doon po lang po, ngayon pa lang po nagsisimula yung ano ko, yung uterine contractions ko talaga. So, dumating siya on the time that she is having the start of her labor. After 20 hours, hindi man lang siya lumagpas ng 4. So probably this is the curve for prolonged latent phase in a nulliparum. So 12 hours lang tayo for 14 hours lang tayo for multi. I just would like to tell you that prolonged latent phase is not an indication for cesarean section. Okay, hindi tayo nagsi-CS unless meron tayong fetal distress. Halimbawa, meron kang abnormal CTG, so yun ang magiging indication mo. But prolonged latent phase is not an indication. Most of the time, ang reason behind prolonged latent phase is a false labor, contract ng contract, pero hindi naman nag-dilate yung cervix. So yung mga ganun, di ba, yun yung binibigyan natin ng rest ka lang muna, doon ka muna sa room kasi hindi naman nagpo-progress. Or sometimes, if the uterine contractions are hypertonic, what do you mean by hypertonic? Contract ng contract, ang sakit-sakit, nagkasumihiyaw yung pasyente sa sakit, pero hindi naman nag-result to progressive cervical dilatation. Pag kinapa mo, matigas sa gitna, yung fundus hindi ganun katumatagas, so parang hindi maganda yung grade yet. Dapat kasi galing sa fundus yung contraction doon magsisimula pababa para yung cervix unti-unting bumuka at mag-efface. If that is not the case, baseline parang ang tigas na ng uterus, hypertonic uterine contraction, yun yung binibigay natin ng sedation. Sinisedate natin to treat the hypertonic uterine contractions or hypertonic uterine dysfunction. Again, prolonged latent is not treated with cesarean section or is not managed by CS unless there is fetal distress. So, once the cervix enters 5, kalimutan na natin yung prolongation disorder. Pumapasok na tayo sa protraction or arrest. Madali lang naman i-differentiate yung protraction sa arrest because in protraction, nagpro-progress but less than the rate that is expected. Pag arrest, naghinto na yung cervical, it did not progress from a specific cervical dilatation, provided, di ba, na-meet natin yung criteria that is being recommended depending on the parity. So protraction, it can happen between 5 to 10, nagpro-progress but less than the rate. Dito pumapasok yung 1.2 cm per hour for newly or 1.5 cm per hour for multi. Meaning kung newly, dapat, basta tumungtong na siya ng 5, dapat every hour nagdadagdag ng 1 cm cervical dilatation yung cervix. Pag multi, in 2 hours, dapat 3 cm kagad yung progress kasi nga 1.5. That's how we apply the rate. Again, binanggit ko na kato kanina, yung descent, hindi natin siya masyadong ina-apply kasi di ba, hindi mo naman ina-apply ang descent, which is the second cardinal movement of labor at 5 cm. Kasi wala pa naman siya sa pelvic division. Mag-apply lang yung protraction ng descent pagdating natin sa 9 cm cervical dilatation. So this is a Friedman's curve showing protraction. So eyes on the screen. Okay, so probably she started around this time. Dito siya na-admit no? But the labor started several hours ago. From 2 to 3 to 4, wala tayong ina-apply dyan na protraction kahit ang bagal kasi nasa latent phase pa siya. So probably protraction can be seen between 5 to probably 6. If this is 5 and this is 6. No, dun yung protraction. And when the bag of water spontaneously ruptured around the time, look what happened. Nag-progress na. Since, because ang is one of the treatment for protraction is, as mentioned, amniotomy. No? So, descent, dapat normal, pero pag hindi yung tama, then that is called protraction. So, like prolongation or prolonged latent phase, protraction is not an indication to deliver by CS unless may fetal distress again. So as mentioned kanina, amniotomy probably is the first thing to do. Kung hindi pa rin siya gumanda yung uterine contraction, naglalag pa rin, then you can give na oxytocin. And as mentioned, the fourth P is addressed by emotional support. Okay, so these are the treatment strategies for protracted labor. So, sa mga residente, no, nagbabantay kayo ng patient na nagle-labor, basta tumungtong na sa 5, tignan nyo na kung kailan kayo nag-IE. Usually naman ang IE natin ginagawa natin, di ba, every 2. May nagsabi kasi minsan sa akin, Doc, di ba pag inain mo, pag yung pasyente nasasaktan na or probably meron ng urge. Papaano nga kung nagpo-protract pala tapos hindi mo man lang na-manage actively. So it's not incorrect to go back to the patient every 2 hours to examine the dilatation kasi kung hindi nagpo-progress according to the rate that is expected, you have to act on that. Kaya siguro maraming nagtatagal ng nagle-labor kasi hinahayaan nyo yung pasyente. Bahala ka mo, tatawagin mo na lang ako, mami, pag naiire ka na. Isang araw ang lumipas, hindi ka tinatawag. Tulog yung pasyente kasi hindi naman din talaga nagpo-progress. Yung pala, protracted na yung labor. It's not incorrect to go back to the patient every 2 hours to examine the dilatation. Basta, tandaan, once she reaches 5 cm, you apply the rate based on her parity. Okay? Every 2 hours probably is the recommendation. At pag nagpro-protract, 5 cm after 2 hours, 6 cm lang. Di dapat ba, kung nulliparous yun, di ba dapat 7 cm na siya, 1.2, 1.2. Wag mo nang sabihin 7.4, hindi naman tayo nag-IA ng ganun. At least 7 cm na dapat siya after 2 hours kung nagsimula siya sa 5. Kung multipara after 2 hours, dapat 8 cm siya. Pag IE mo, 6 cm lang, protracted yun. O, dapat i-manage mo actively yung protraction. Either you do amniotomy or you give oxytocin. Okay? So, arrest is different. Yung susunod, yung mga pagsusunod-sunod rin ko dito, arrest, prolonged deceleration, tsaka prolonged second stage, is different from, or are different from protraction because when the secondary arrest in cervical dilatation means that the cervical dilatation already stopped. We apply the diagnosis of arrest in cervical dilatation if the cervix stopped at 6 or at 7 or at 8. No? 4 hours for regular uterine contraction, 6 hours if the contractions are irregular, regardless of the parity. So arrest in cervical dilatation at 6, at 7, or at 8 applies to both duli and multi. 4 hours ang ginagamit natin. When I was a resident, 2 hours pa lang yung ginagamit. Pag more than 2 hours, yes na. Pero binago na ulit yun. No? Masyadong maigsi yung 2. Ginawa na natin siyang 4. Kung irregular ang contractions, hindi mo ma-achieve yung tinatawag nating every 2 to 3 minutes na strong, then you can further observe until 6 up to 6 hours regardless of the parity. So this is a Friedman's curve showing that the cervix is already at 6, pero after more than 4 hours it remained at 6, then that is arrest in cervical dilatation. Question: the head is at station 0. Do you also put in the diagnosis failure of fetal head descent in this Friedman's curve? I want you to put the answer in the Q&A box. The answer is either yes or no. You say no because, as mentioned, the cardinal movements of labor will only start to occur at 9. So whenever you give the diagnosis of arrest in cervical dilatation, which can happen again between 6 or 7 or 8, 4 hours or 6 hours, the only diagnosis is arrest in cervical dilatation. Meron siyang second line, CPD at the level of what? Pero wala ka dapat ilalagay na descent problem. So in this case, since the cervix is arrested at 6 and the head is at station 0, then you say it is arrest in cervical dilatation with CPD at the level of mid-plane. Kasi nag-engage na siya. Pumasok na siya sa inlet, di ba? Station 0, engagement has occurred, so nakalusot sa inlet. Mid-plane yun. May question sa taas na hindi ko nabasa. Ano preference yung doc in diagnosis? Arrest in cervical dilatation or active phase arrest? It doesn't really matter again. Most of the time sa bulletin nakalagay arrest in cervical dilatation, may nakalagay rin naman na active phase arrest. But remember, deceleration phase is also active. Diba? The active phase is divided into acceleration, maximum slope, deceleration. So yung active phase arrest is not very descriptive. It can either be arrest in cervical or prolonged deceleration phase. So personally, I will recommend, but I am not saying that I am the only one who is correct. I mean, kung anong gusto nyo gamitin, bahala kayo. Pero basta, pare-pareho lang. Hindi pa po kasi lumalabas yung terminology from POGS. Diba gumawa ang POGS ng terminologies para unified? Paanong diagnosis and everything. Hindi pa po yun lumalabas from how we were informed before. Hindi pa siya lumalabas. Kung may kumalat man na mga kung anumang mga copy, hindi pa yata yun approved. So we say that it's arrest in cervical dilatation or secondary arrest in cervical dilatation. Pero sa akin, yung active phase arrest, hindi siya masyadong descriptive kasi pwede naman siya sa 9 cm. In our institution, sa FEU, as well as in TALA, ang ginagamit namin is arrest in cervical dilatation, followed by a second line, which is the level of the CPD mid-plane for this case. Okay? So, whenever we reach the cervical dilatation of 9 and the cervical dilatation of full cervical dilatation, yun na yun. Magiging prolonged deceleration phase na siya if it is arrested at 9 and prolonged second stage if it is arrested at full cervical dilatation. Meaning nag-fully pero hindi lumabas yung head. And because there is already, we are already in the pelvic division, dyan na natin sinasama yung descent problem. It's failure of descent if it is at 0. It is arrest in fetal head descent if it is at +1. So pag dumating ka ng 9 at doon ka nagkaroon ng diagnosis or fully, tatlong line na. Yung arrest disorder, yung descent problem, and yung level ng three-liner na tayo. Okay? Wala bang question dito? When I was giving this lecture years ago, one student parang truthfully asked me this question. Dok, bakit po kunyari nagsimula yung head ng station -2 ang IE? Tapos halimbawa na CS po siya ng full cervical dilatation for prolonged second stage. Bumaba po yung ulo ng station 0. Nag-descend naman po ba? Nag-descend naman, 'di ba? From -2 to 0. Why are we saying that it is still failure of descent when in fact the head descended, it only arrested at 0? That question was very valid, di ba? Talaga namang bumaba from station -2 to 0, but ang point is, talaga namang bumababa ang head from floating -5, -4, -3, -2, and 0. But do you call that descent? Not yet, because descent follows engagement or is simultaneous with engagement, which is starting at station 0. So therefore, if there is no descent beyond 0, that's failure. And arrest in descent only happens when it is stuck at +1 downwards. Doon lang nag-descent kasi is engagement na 0. I hope that explanation is clear why the bulletin again emphasizes that when the head at section, during the time of section, is done at station 0 pataas, it's failure of fetal head descent. If it is +1, then it is arrest of fetal head descent. Okay? But then again, kung CPD midplane ang pag-uusapan, station 0 pababa. Station 0, station plus 1, that is midplane. Station minus 1 pataas, that is in. Okay. So failure of fetal head descent is 0 and plus 1 is arrest in fetal head descent. Balikan ko lang to ha for the benefit of everybody. Sabi kasi nung may nagtatanong kasi sa akin paminsan, Sir, pag po ba naka-epidural, halimbawa gravidocardiac, hypertensive, early on, nilagay na namin yung epid. Pag po ba yung sa 9 cm nag-arrest, magdadagdag din po ba kami ng 1 oras? Meaning, pag nuli po ba, yung 3 hours magiging 4, yung multi magiging 1. What should be your answer to that question? Do you add 1 hour in prolonged deceleration phase if the patient is in epid?
No.
Yes or no? No. Why? So, ang next question ko naman, why do we only apply 1 hour addition sa prolonged second stage? Bakit sa prolonged second stage lang applicable ang additional 1 hour if on epid? Why only at during the second stage? What is the effect of epid on the second stage? Sabi natin kanina, descent of the head is brought about by uterine contraction, pressure of the fluid, and yung abdominal effort, yung ire. Not really the power. The power is uterine. It's more of the abdominal effort, no? Pag umiiri ka na, 'di ba? Yung nakakadagdag yun dun sa pag further labas tong baby. When one is in epid, there's no pain. And when there is no pain, hindi siya matitempt mag-bear down. Kaya nakita nila, pag naka-epid, nagtatagal ang second stage. So wag na muna natin kaagad i-CS. Wag na muna natin bigyan ng diagnosis ng prolonged second stage. Let's add 1 hour. Kaya dun yan nakalagay yung ganung criterion doon sa prolonged second stage. You do not apply it in prolonged deceleration phase because walang isa sa inyo ang dapat nagpapaire at 9 cm kung hindi kukurutin natin. No? Hindi pa tayo dapat mag-coach, magpaire when the first stage is not yet completed. Meron lang ibang question. Epid will only. Doc, clarify, if it is a case of prolonged second stage of labor with failure of descent, is this secondary to mild pelvic contraction? It hot station 0 or pelvic inlet po? Sandali, nag-hypox siya na yung utak ko. Prolonged second stage of labor with failure of descent, is this secondary to... So kung failure of descent, depende yon kung anong station. Depende kung anong station. Kasi kung station 0, failure of descent. Kung station minus 1, failure of descent. But station 0 is mid-plane, minus 1 is in-plane. Clear? Nasa mid-plane ang iyong problema kung nag-engage yung head. Kung station 0 pababa, station 0 plus 1 plus 2, mid-plane yun. Pero as long as hindi nag-i-engage yung head, minus 1 pataas, then that is yes, failure of fetal head descent, but the problem is in the inlet. Maternal effort, epid affects maternal effort. No pain, no gain. Very good. Correct. Diba? So, minsan pag nagbibigay, pag hypertension, pag gravidocardiac, no-brainer. You do not ask the patient, you do not direct the patient in the giving of epid. Dapat magbigay ka ng epid. Kasi pag binigyan mo ng epid, pag hindi ka nagbigay ng epid, tumaas ang BP niya, problema yon, diba? So, hindi yun directed by the patient. Pero ang point ko, if the patient is low risk, no indication for epidural, I always ask the patient, kaya mo pa ba? Pag sinabi niya, kaya ko pa, Doc, huwag muna tayong mag-epid ha. Kasi pag nag-epid tayo, tatagal ang labor mo. Diba? Nakalagay doon, mga source causes of prolongation. Yung nagtatagal is, protraction is epidural anesthesia. But of course, you do not allow again the mother to suffer. Kung hindi niya na kaya, then you have to give the epidural. Alright, next. So failure of descent 0, then it's +1 kung arrest. Okay, this is a I will read the question mamaya pagkatapos nito part na to. So this is a secondary arrest at the level of 9. So we don't call it anymore active arrest in cervical dilatation. We call it prolonged deceleration phase. Pag multi, more than 1 hour lang. Pero pag newly, more than 3 hours, regardless kung nakaipid. The head is at station -1. So sabi ko, pag nasa pelvic division, 3-liner na tayo sa diagnosis. So this is prolonged deceleration phase, failure of fetal head descent, secondary to inlet contraction. Okay? Yung sumunod, nag-arrest at fully, more than, kahit regardless of the parity, more than 3 hours naman na to. Tapos at +1. So this is prolonged second stage, arrest of fetal head descent, CPD at the level of midplane. Klaro ba? Sabi ng POGS, failure and arrest in fetal head descent are not stand-alone diagnosis. So nakalagay naman doon sa guidelines ng Williams, no? Na pag more than 1 hour, hindi bumababa yung ulo, walang change in station, you call it arrest of fetal head descent. Saang level? Saang part ng labor? Di ba ang labo? Hindi natin alam saan mo yan i-apply. Kaya inayos ng POGS. Huwag na kayong malito. Saang level? Di dapat sa pelvic division dahil doon lang naman nangyayari ang cardinal movements of labor. Failure yan kung hindi umabot ng lumagpas ng 0 kasi engagement pa lang yun. Arrest yan pag lumagpas ng 0. So dun lang natin ina-apply. And ang sabi din, kasi minsan hindi pa natin nasasatisfy yung cervical problem, sinies mo na kaagad dahil yung head hindi man lang bumaba ng +1 and you are already in the pelvic division. Sabi ng meron namang back, binaback naman to ng masyadong mabilis. Kung gagamitin mo alone ang descent problem, 1 hour lang. Diba? Okay na okay yung baby, sinias mo na kasi hindi bumababa yun. So it is now clear that failure and arrest in fetal head descent are not stand-alone diagnosis. Descent disorders should accompany either prolonged deceleration or prolonged second stage. So ang magbibigay sa'yo ng indication is yung problem sa cervix. Secondary na lang yung sa descent. Good morning, Doc. Good afternoon na ata. In the diagnosis of protracted active phase, can we indicate secondary to pelvic inlet contraction? Hindi. Kasi sweetheart, di ba, ang protracted active phase is not an indication to deliver by CS. So, hindi ka mag-CS, ang diagnosis mo protraction. Hindi yun pwede. Kaya hindi mo siya pwedeng sabihin na protraction tapos inlet outlet, inlet or midplane. Bakit ka nag-CS? Wala kang no point. Why arrest disorder for prolonged deceleration phase? Hindi ko maano yun. Kasi di ba nag-ano siya, hindi nag-dilate yung cervix. So it is still part of secondary arrest but we label it as specifically as prolonged deceleration phase. So sabi ko nga, diba, arrest to kasi hindi nag-dilate yung cervix, but remember, it can either be arrest in cervical dilatation if it is at 6, at 7, or 8. Pag 9 na, hindi na natin ginagamit yung arrest in cervical dilatation. Ang ginagamit natin, prolonged deceleration phase. Pag fully na, prolonged second stage. Kaya pag sinabi mo, yung pasyente ko na CS, arrest in cervical dilatation, yung kausap mo, na marunong din at nag-aral, alam niya, sinies mo yan kasi the cervix arrested at 6, at 7, or at 8. Pag sinabi mo naman na CS nga kagabi prolonged deceleration phase, nasa pelvic division. Okay? So, clarify lang po. Sa arrest in cervical dilate, ano yung uwu? clarify lang po, sa arrest in cervical dilatation, kada cm po 4 hours each centimeter ang monitoring. Example, almost 4 hours nag 6 cm, nag-progress to 7. Oo, ganun nga ang, di ba, ang problema. Then, pag 4 hours nag 8 cm, tuloy pa rin po ba ang CS? Magandang question to. So, pag kunyari, di ba, inai mo, alas 6 ng gabi, 6 centimeter. So, nagbilang ka 7, 8, 9, 10. At 10 o'clock, pag hindi pa yan at 6 centimeter pa, isi-CS ko na yan. Eh, nung mga 9:45, nag-CM, nag-7. Anong diagnosis mo dun? Hindi ka pwedeng magbigay ng arrest kasi nag-progress siya. Ang diagnosis mo dun, protracted. Okay? Tapos, ganun na naman ulit. Alas 2 na ng madaling araw. Nag-8 centimeter naman. Protracted yun. Kasi nag-progress but less than the rate that is expected. Arrest in cervical dilatation meaning walang progression after 4 hours in that same cervical dilatation. For arrest in cervical dilatation po, need po ba maglagay ng secondary tube? Pwede. Pwede ka maglagay ng secondary tube. Yun nga lang, 2-liner ka lang. Diba? Arrest in cervical dilatation, katulad nito, secondary to CPD midplane kasi nasa station 0. Okay? So, pag prolonged deceleration phase, 3-liner. The cervical dilatation problem, the descent problem, and the level of the inlet. Ay, the level of the pelvis. Ganun din for prolonged second stage. Remember ha, descent problem alone is not enough for CS. Kailangan second liner lang siya sa problem ng cervical arrest, whether it's 9 or fully. Alright. Sige. Next. Nasa na tayo? So how do you interpret this? On the 8th hour of labor, she is still at 5 centimeter, station 0. What is the problem? I want you to put the problem. Oh yeah, the labor problem. Arrest. Ilang oras nga ulit yung arrest? At saka nag-a-arrest ka ba at 5 centimeter? Kung magkakaharap tayo, nakurot na kita eh. Okay. Sige, okay lang magkamali. Yun ang purpose ng review natin. Ma-check, ma-correct, di ba? And nakalimutan ko pala from the very beginning sabihin sa inyo, this is a safe room. Okay lang sabihin ko anong gustong sabihin, pero sana naman pinag-iisipan. At ang purpose nga ng review is to correct. Okay, so okay lang magkamali. Kaysa naman wala kang sinasabi. Pag daw nag-aaral tayo, yung active participation brings learning to a better height kumpara sa nakikinig ka lang. Protracted. So, pwede po magkaroon ng arrest of cervical dilatation kahit station +1 pa. Oo naman. Diba? Lalong-lalo na yung mga priming. Mababa ang ulo nun eh. Pwede kang magkaroon ng arrest. Arrest as long as the cervix only stayed at 6, at 7, or at 8. Yun ang nagdedetermine ng arrest. Not the station of the head. Protracted. Protracted. Okay, last two residents who answered, our chief residents. Okay, protracted. So, di ma, hindi yan pwedeng arrest. Nasa 5 pa lang tayo, magsisimula pa lang yun at 6. Sabi natin, at 5, active phase yan, early active. The only problem that can occur here is protraction. So, anong gagawin mo? Nag-protract ka at 5. Imagine mo kung hindi mo yan tinignan, hindi mo inai on the 8 hour. Eh naku, Diyos ko po, aabot yan ng hanggang 16 hour, 5 centimeter, walang nangyayari. Okay, amniotomy is the best step. Yes, oxytocin is an answer, pero the best answer, mag-amniotomy ka muna. Ang nakalagay nga sa book, pag nag-protract, mag-amniotomy ka, observe again for another hours. Pag protracted pa din, that's the time na you give oxytocin. So, amniotomy is the best answer. So, let's proceed. No, nag-amniotomy at 5 kasi naiinid Deb. Naku, bibitayin ko kayo, bakit CS na? Nag-ano kayo, nag-amniotomy, okay? So, pag amniotomy, nag-observe another 2 hours, at on the 10th hour of labor, the cervix progress from 5 to 6. Dapat ano ang cervical dilatation mo on the 10th? This is a primi-gravid. Predict from 5, ano dapat ang cervical dilatation mo after 2 hours? 7, 6 pa lang, de protraction yon. So, nagbigay na siya na ngayon ng oxytocin. Okay? So, just to review oxytocin a bit, okay? So, we usually put 10 units in 1 liter. And in this preparation, it's 1 mU for every 2 drops per minute. 1 mU for every 2 drops. Macroset naman ang ginagamit natin, provided that the drop rate of the IV line that you are using, magkakaiba yan. Kasi tatanungin nyo sa nurse, anong drop rate nito, provided that it is 20 drops per ml. No? So, if this is the IV set, you are using 10 units in 1 liter, 1 mU is equal to 2 drops. So that when you give 5 mU, you are actually giving 10 drops. 10 mU is actually equivalent to 20 drops. I am presenting this computation kasi di ba pag nagbibigay kayo ng oxy, low dose ba, high dose ba? So ano ba ang pinag-iba ng dalawa? This is a hypertensive patient undergoing induction, hooked to oxytocin at a starting rate of 12 drops. What is the proven outcome in using this regimen? 12 drops is high dose. High dose, comparing with low dose, did not increase cesarean section rate. Hindi naman niya pinataas ang sepsis. Hindi rin siya associated with more assisted vaginal delivery. But using the high dose, ang nakita nila sa studies, shorter induction to delivery time. Bakit ba tayo nagtatagal sa pag-labor ng pasyente? Kasi kinikiliti-kiliti lang, no? Wala namang contraindication for high dose. Nagsimula lang tayo sa 6 drops, 8 drops. So sabi, if you use the high dose, no, 6 mU, 1 mU is 2 drops, so 6 mU is 12 drops, shorter to induction to delivery time. Okay? Kilalang kilala ko ng mga residents namin kasi whenever they ask, sir, what's the starting rate? Kung wala namang contraindication, we start it at 12. We use the high dose. Okay? And the reason behind that is para mas maging maganda ang uterine contractions natin. So I hope you are familiar with the recommendation na dapat bago ka mag-diagnose ng dystocia, dapat ang contractions power at least 200 Montevideo units, and I hope everyone who is in this room knows how to compute for the Montevideo. So you add everything in a 10-minute segment and at least dapat may 200. Pero meron akong sasabihin sa inyo. Ang ginagamit natin na pag-monitor ng contraction is an external probe. External probe. If you want to accurately measure the pressures within for the computation of the Montevideo, it should be internal. Hindi tayo gumagamit. So therefore, according to FIGO, when we are using only the external dynamometer, we are just measuring the frequency and interval or duration of the contraction and not the strength or intensity of the uterine contraction, because this can only be accurately measured by an internal monitor. So pag nagmo-monitor kayo, there's no point in asking ilang Montevideo units na kasi hindi naman accurate yun. Ang tinitingnan lang natin yung frequency, every 2 to 3 minutes na ba yan. So yung strength, no, parang subjective yon. Pag umaabot hanggang dulo, tapos talagang sobrang tigas naman yung uterus, then you can probably subjectively say that strong naman ang uterine contraction. Okay? So it's more of the frequency, interval, and duration rather than the strength and intensity. Sir, clarify lang po, millimeter mercury or Montevideo units. Yung kinumpute mong 200, di syempre Montevideo yun. Inad mo na siya. Pero what you are measuring is yung pressure per contraction, which is in millimeter mercury. Yan yung ina-add natin. So, isubtract mo yung baseline, kuhanin mo, di ba may mga millimeter mercury dyan, kuhanin mo. Ito, kinuha niya na yung 52, 50, 47, 44, 49. Nung kinumpute niya yon, kung ano man yung total, the unit would be in MBU, Montevideo units. kasi you computed all the millimeter mercury pressure in a 10-minute segment. Okay? Uulitin ko ulit. Hindi natin yan nami-measure with accuracy. We are using the usual uterine external monitor. Okay? So, nag-oxy tayo on the 10th hour. Tapos, on the 13th hour, tama. It's still 6 cm station 0. Question. What is the labor abnormality? Okay. So, di ba, hindi pa natin na-satisfy yung 4 hours. Protracted pa din. So, any labor abnormality here, protracted. Okay. Not arrest pa, protracted. So, mayroong pwedeng sumagot. Hindi pa ba yan arrest in descent? Kasi hindi bumababa. Unang-una, hindi siya pwedeng arrest kasi station 0. O failure, more than 1 hour na. Hindi pwede. Descent problem alone is not an indication. Protracted. Doc, sorry po sa question, yung protracted active phase po ba pwede mag-apply sa preterm partners? Alam mo, nangyayari naman yun. Valid na yun, hindi kailangang mag-sorry. Valid naman yun. May mga preterm na nagpakaloka, di ba? Ang liit ng ulo, nag-protract. Ewan, pwede. And most of the time, minsan asynclitic kasi. Or baka naman contracted din yung pelvis niya. So, it's not parang mortal sin. Bakit mo si Nias nag-arrest in cervical dilatation preterm? Minsan naman, di ba? May mga maliliit na baby na hindi din talaga lumalabas. Doc, sorry po, sa question yung protracted active phase po ba pwede mag-apply sa preterm parturients? Pwede naman. Pag inad po ang tagal na pre-op ng ANES, arrest na. Paano bang sasabihin ko doon? Mag-ganon naman sa ANES friends natin. May mga pinapatamaan ba kayo dito? B, makinig kayong lahat sa akin. Tingin dito. Yung decision should not include the preparation. Mali yun. Halimbawa, pwede kasing ganito yan mangyari, no? 30 minutes na lang, mag-4 hours na tayo. Mag-call ka na ng CS kasi it will take around 32 minutes to 1 hour bago siya ma-CS. Kasi mag-prepare pa and everything. That is not a correct practice. Bakit? Kasi when you call for CS, dapat na-satisfy mo yung 4 hours kung arrest in cervical dilatation dito. But I am not saying that you should only prepare on the call sa CS on the 4th hour. Dapat, 3rd hour pa lang, no? 3 hours kang nasa arrest. Mukhang sasabit to Pasabi naman sa ANES, pasabi naman sa OR, mag-prepare na ng kwarto. Kasi pag ito umabot ng 4 hour at kinol ko to ng CS, wala na tayong delay. No? Yun yung parang inaayos mo na yung nakalimutan ko yung word. Pinapaprepare mo na para pag nag-call ka, dire-diretso na. So hindi nyo kailangang i-add. Anticipation, very good. Pasabi sa anticipation, no? Mukhang masi-CS to, mukhang mag-a-arrest na kami, ha? So 30 minutes na lang or 1 hour na lang, pasabi naman sa nurse, bigyan ako ng room. Or mag-prepare na. Hindi, it's not a commitment to the definitive delivery. It's just preparing, removing the obstacles, naalala ko. Removing the obstacles to the definite OR. Tawagin mo na ANES, kung private to, tawagin mo na yung OB, ma'am, mukha tayong sasabit, punta ka na po dito, tawagin mo, mag-prepare ka na, no? So, you do not include the preparation dun sa call. Pag-call ka, kung kailan mo dapat siyang i-call. You do not add the preparation. Ano pa ba? Wag ganun. Okay. So, this is not yet arrest kasi 3 hours lang, 4 hours dapat to. Protracted pa rin to. Okay, so ang ginawa, ano bang ginawa dito? Sorry, nakalimutan ko na. So, siguro pinapasok na yung husband. Alika doon, magkahayaan mo, masampal-sampal ka ng asawa mo to address her psyche. So, nag-progress naman from 6 cm, so naging 9 centimeter there with station +1. And after a few hours, what is the labor pattern here? From 6 in 2 hours naging 9 +1. Kung private po, dapat andyan na ang attending, lalo na kung mag-oxy. Yes, ideally. Okay? Sherry, tama. Minsan sa tagal ng anes, nag-SBD bigla. Okay? Ano na? Kung ano-anong kwentuhan ang pinaggagawa nyo dito. Anong sagot sa tanong ko? Doc, paano pag sa labor watch adequate contraction? Should we still give low dose oxytocin to suffice the criteria? Hindi. Kung ang contractions mo ay adequate, 'di ba? Hindi mo kailangan mag-oxy. Syempre 'di ba 200 Montevideo. Hindi naman yung sinabi na dapat ang oxy in-apply lang nila doon sa PPR, doon sa field induction. Pero dito nasa active labor ka, malamang naman ang contractions maganda. Hindi kailangan naka-oxy. Kaya nga sa active management of the third stage, merong management doon na magbibigay ng IM oxytocin. Kasi pwedeng mag-labor ang pasyente nang hindi naka-oxy. Regular pa rin yung contractions. Okay? Katulad na lang yung huling naming pinaanak ng aking mga residente, induction lang yon, but with the induction with dinoprostone, ay diretso na nag-labor hanggang sa mag-fully and everything, walang oxy yun na. Binigyan lang ng oxy nung magdi-deliver na. So hindi necessary ang oxy in saying that the contraction, kung adequate, naturally occurring, okay yan. So this is a normal pattern, no? So in 2 hours nag-dilate and eventually nag-fully, then eventually lumabas. Kailangan ko siyang palabasin, hindi ko kailangan i-CS to kasi meron tayong part ng management of the second stage of labor. Doc, paano pag sa labor watch adequate contractions? So, nasagot ko naman yun, hindi kailangan ng oxy. Okay, the mean stage or the mean duration is approximately 50 minutes for newly and 20 minutes for multipara. Natatatandaan ko, ay di ko lang malaman kung diplomate exam or in-service exam, tinanong sa when I was the examinee, tinanong to, hindi ko nasagot kasi hindi ko siya nabasa. Sabi ko nga, recall ang mahirap sagutan kasi it's really, it will depend kung kailan mo, kung nabasa mo. So kung newly, median duration ng second stage is 50. For multi, the median duration is 20. This is something that I learned when I was a resident, that up until now in practice, dala-dala ko pa rin. For primi-gravid, you only table the patient. You put her on the delivery table pag crowning. Or kahit siguro +4, +5. But for multiparous, you put her already sa table at the end of or at the start of the second stage kasi pwedeng mabilis lang yung kanyang progression. So pag mga primary nag-fully, hindi ko naman siya pinapa-table, lalo na kung station 0 pa lang. Table nyo na lang yan pag mga plastic kasi matagal naman ang kanilang second stage. Pero kunyari maliit ang ulo, it depends on how you assess the patient. Hindi naman pare-pare. Kasi mas mabilis ang duration ng second stage sa multi. Sanay na siya. Okay? So, paano po kung di marunong umire? Ito, papunta na po tayo doon. Ano pong brand yun? Alin ba? Ano doon pinag-uusapan nyo dito? Anong brand? Paano po kung di... Anong brand? May sinabi ba akong Doc, paano sa labor watch? Anong brand? So, pag-usapan natin mamaya kung anong brand ito. Dinoprostone, Secret, basta Dinoprostone. Ano pong brand yan? Okay? So, Dinoprostone ginamit namin. Sorry ha, without regard to manufacturers, Dinoprostone gel and Dinoprostone insert, according to literature, pareho lang naman. Meron kami mga pasyenteng binibigyan ng gel, 3 doses bago mag-labor. Meron din naman kami binibigyan ng isang gel pa lang mag-progress na. Meron naman kami nabigyan, same for the insert. So, prostaglandin E2 can either be a gel or the insert. Conflicting, walang magsasabi na one is better than the other. So, use what the patient can afford, use what is available doon sa meron kayo, no? Pabili kayo ng insert, meron kayo gel, sayang naman, nagtatagal pa kasi use what is available. Okay, nasaan na tayo? Pero pag tinanong kayo sa ano ha, nako, dahil tinanong niyo ako sa Dinoprostone, tatagal na naman tayo. Meron akong sasabihin sa inyo. Tingin ulit sa akin. The only two things that we can use for cervical ripening are mechanical and pharmacology. Mechanical, catheter. Hindi tayo masyadong sanay doon, di ba? But that is effective. Hindi tayo gumagamit ng catheter sa mga ruptured valve kasi baka tumaas ang probability ng intraamniotic infection. So ginagamit natin siya doon sa mga sarado ang cervix. Gusto mo mechanical, catheter, so pwede yun. Pharmacologic is through the use of prostaglandin E1 or E2. Hindi natin ginagamit yung E1 kasi that is misoprostol. According to literature abroad, maganda siya, notorious siya in causing abnormal fetal heart rate pattern kasi nga nagtatake systole. Pero isa siya sa pinaka-effective in causing or shortening induction to delivery time. The use of E1 or misoprostol. I hope it will not be asked in the exam kasi hindi naman natin siya ginagamit. So that leaves us with E2, which is dinoprostone. Dalawa lang naman ang available. BSV's Primedyne, yung sa gel, and the other one, hindi ko alam kung sino manufacturer, promise, the insert, which is the dinoprostone insert. No? And literature would tell us that both are actually effective. Magkakaiba sila sa price, magkakaiba sila sa administration. Yun ang ano ko. Kaya ako nagpunta doon. HNBB or EP or NEPO are not evidence-based with regard to cervical ripening. EPO baka pwede pa. Kasi ang EPO, tingin lahat sa akin, ang EPO is an oil, linoleic, linolenic. Ang endpoint ng metabolism ng EPO is prostaglandin F2 alpha. So meaning, pag nilagay mo siya sa puwerta, di ba, or minsan pinapainom natin, nagkakos siya ng cervical ripening, effacement, and eventually uterine contraction kasi ang endpoint ng metabolism is papunta dun sa prostaglandin. Pero kasi, although sinasabi nga rin ng ibang mga companies that there are studies saying na pag nilagay mo siya sa puwerta, totoo naman din yun. Kaya lang hindi pa siya robust evidence to say that EPO can use in the actual cervical ripening or mag-i-induce ka na. Ako gumagamit ako ng EPO, pero binibigay ko siya sa mga pasyente, yung kunyari mga 37 weeks, mami, inom ka na ng EPO, inom ha, hindi sa puwerta, TID per OREM, para yung probability nga na mag-efface na yung cervix. Pero dumating halimbawa, pasyente mo, 34 weeks, severe preeclampsia, gusto mo mag-induce kasi hindi naman siya indication for cesarean section. Hindi siya backed by solid, robust evidence na it's for induction, yung EPO. Ang ginagamit pa rin natin, mechanical nga at saka pharmacological in the form of E2. Lalong-lalo na ang HNBB. Hindi siya cervical ripening. Tigil-tigilan nyo ang pagbibigay ng HNBB for cervical ripening pag kayo nakakuha ng pasyenteng nagkaroon ng side effect, no? Ang manufacturer ng HNBB, Boehringer, hindi ko lang wala sa slide na to, has already published parang yung box warning saying that if it is not used properly, it can lead to myocardial infarction. Pwedeng mag-MI ang patient. May tanong ako sa inyo. HNBB or EPO po ba talaga may effect po sa cervix at hanggang ilan po pwede ibigay and frequency po, TY? EPO pwede, kung paano yung sinasabi, di ba? 4 capsules and then every 4 hours. Pero hindi siya, huwag niyong isasagot sa exam ang EPO ha. Hindi siya backed by robust evidence, wala siya sa book. Kahit anong basahin niyo, wala ang EPO doon. HNBB is not. May tanong ako sa inyo. Ano ba, bakit tayo nagbibigay ng hyoscine? Saan natin ginagamit? Di ba pag sumasakit yung tiyan natin? Because it addresses smooth muscle contraction. So pag sumasakit yung tiyan mo, nagka-cramp ka, gusto mong mawala yung contraction, nag-HNBB ka. Ano ba ang component ng cervix? Di ba hindi naman siya smooth muscle? Collagen yun at saka hyaluronic acid. Dapat yun ma-dissolve. Hindi yun madi-dissolve ng HNBB. So to answer the question, HNBV po ba may effect? Wala. And it should not be used for cervical rightening. Pang smooth muscle kasi siya. So kunyari active labor na. 5 cm, 6 cm, 7 cm, inaim mo, di ba may mga 7 cm na pero ang tigas ng cervix, baka na-encounter mo doon yung smooth muscle. In that case, pwede ka mabigay ng one dose, only one dose only of hyoscine. Hindi yung every 30 minutes, every 40 minutes. Meron niyang autonomic nervous system effect. Kawawa yung pasyente, minsan duling na, no? Because of its autonomic nervous system effect. Bigay ka pa rin ng bigay kasi ikaw yung mismong naiinip. Minsan nakakita na ako na nilagay ang hyoscine sa IVF, sa oxytocin. Ewan ko kung saan ang gadgets ko. Huwag tayong maging ganun. Okay? It is not used for cervical rightening. It can be given one dose siguro pag active phase of labor tapos yung cervix maganit. And you are addressing their smooth muscle content. Can we use dinoprostone for induction pero case po ng PPROM? Yes. You can use dinoprostone, the gel or the insert even in cases of ruptured bag of water. Williams as reference versus legal practice in PH as mentioned, like misoprostol. Ano yung sagot in an exam if ever nasabi in Williams mas effective yung misoprostol pero nasa black market ang PH? Versus sana nga, yun ang sabi ko, di ba? Pag binasa natin yung book, E1 is effective pero sana wag siyang itanong sa exam. Kasi hindi naman natin siya ginawa. Okay? Ako po hilong-hilo na kasi patient namin. Ako okay po, hilong-hilo na kasi patient namin sa HNBB. Totoo. Huwag niyo siyang gamitin. It's not a correct practice. If anyone here is using HNBB for cervical ripening, try to forget that thing. It's not safe. Okay. Dinoprostone lang o kaya mekanika. So sabi natin kanina, pag dumating ang pasyente, nagle-labor, ito yung mga ginagawa natin, di ba? Ay, ganun din pag nasa second stage of labor na. You insert your finger again, try to determine the position. Mahirap na itong gawin. Sabi nga sa akin kanina ni Dr. Borlasa, kung nakikinig pa siya ngayon, ang hirap naman mag-IE ng may kapot. Totoo naman yon. Kaya nga, lumalabas na rin ngayon yung competency ng intrapartum ultrasound. Kasi doon makikita mo talaga kung nasan yung diagonal or triangular fontanelle para makita mo yung position. Kaya nilalabas na yan sa mga recommendations ngayon, yung mga angle of inclination ng fetal head, especially kung hindi mo na ma-determine ang position kasi may kapot na. But then again, kung normal naman nagpuli, ang ganda pa ng shape ng head, please try to determine the position when you are doing the internal examination. And of course, the station. Doc, how about if 180 MBU contractions came in for watery pero 1 cm slightly phase po, poor bishop score, do you prefer dinoprostone? Yes, you can actually... Ay, teka sandali. Poor bishop score, ruptured bag of water, PROM, hindi na tayo nag-aantay ng spontaneous labor, no? Ang recommendation ngayon, i-augment nyo na yan. So, pwede na kayong oxy kagad. Kaya lang, tama naman yung point na, ang pangit ng bishop score, pwede bang mag-ripen muna? The answer is yes. Gel or insert, pwede mong ibigay sa ruptured bag provided the contractions are not yet occurring like 3 in 10 minutes. Contraindication sa pagbibigay ng dinoprostone, yung meron ka ng contractions na 3 in 10 minutes kasi baka mag-rupture yung uterus. Nangyari to sa isa kong residente. Nagbabantay siya. Nandito ba si Kim? Nagbabantay si Kim, first year resident ko, in a patient who is undergoing induction of labor because of gestational hypertension. So dumating yung patient, nag-CST, nipple stimulation, negative. Ay after nipple stimulation, ang contractions namin is every 2 to 3 na, pero ang cervical dilatation niya is 1. So sabi sa akin ng aking resident, Doc, ayoko munang i-insert yung dinoprostone, ayaw muna naming ibigay kasi there are more than 3 contractions in 10 minutes. Sabi ko, very good. Kasi delikado baka mag-rupture. Dire-diretsong nagko-contract. So sabi ko, hindi na muna namin ibibigay. Kaya lang, by 2 o'clock in the morning, she called me, Doc, humihiyaw na po ang pasyente niyo sa sakit pero nang inai ko po 1 centimeter pa rin. So sabi ko, hypertonic uterine contraction niya. I-sedate muna natin. So when the sedation was given, bumagal yung contraction. at 5 o'clock in the morning, doon namin naibigay yung dinoprostone. So this is just a story to tell you now, do not ever give the dinoprostone for cervical ripening when there are more than 3 contractions in 10 minutes to avoid the problem of uterine rupture. Okay? But to answer, pwede po ba siyang ibigay in PROM or PPROM? Kaya mo ginamit yung P sa PROM or PPROM kasi hindi siya nagre-labor. The answer is yes, even with ruptured bag of water. Yes, nakikinig pa din daw si Miss. Ako po, okay, so let's proceed, no? So ito yung examination that we give in a patient who is already in the second stage of labor. May nagtanong, coached po ba or uncoached? There is no definite answer.
We'll check lang po na wala si Doc. Wait lang po. He's lagging in. Wait lang po natin si Doc kasi nawalan po ng power yung laptop niya. Wait lang po.
Is a profound journey of transformation and joy in a woman's life. A time to celebrate milestones and embrace the powerful changes unfolding within her. Protecting both lives begins with prioritizing.
Okay po, Dr. Odivar is back.
Napagod na yung laptop ko. Clear?
Yes po.
Alright, so nasa tayo second stage, no? Coached or uncoached? Someone asked this question kanina. Again, if you will if you will read Williams. Nakakairita ang Williams, di ba? Ang haba-haba ng paragraph, pagdating sa huli, sasabihin there is no specific recommendation, nakakabuisit. So, coach or uncoach, wala daw difference between the two. Nakita lang nila na pag-coached, yung pagka-huli, o sige mami ha, magsisimula na tayong mag-umire. Pag tumigas, bilang tayo ng 1, 2, 3, push. Yun yung coach. Pag uncoached, atay mo lang siyang passively, siya yung makaramdam ng urge na umire siya. May difference ba between coach and uncoach? Wala daw. Mas mabilis lang ng anak yung mga kino-coach pero mas madaling mapagod yung nanay. Yung uncoach naman, mas tumataas yung probability na mag-intra-amniotic infection kasi nga ang tagal. Pero ang sabi nga wala. Pero ang sabi sa book, which I think we should follow, from the time of full cervical dilatation, allow passive descent for at least 60 minutes. Hayaan mo munang bumaba, hayaan mo muna yung nanay makaramdam ng naiiri na po ako, Dok, iiri ko na. Reflex action yun eh. Pag yung ulo nandun na sa point ng extension, 'di ba? Extension happens when the head is already at station +4, +5. Hindi mo pipigilan ng nanay na umiri siya. Allow that to passively happen for at least 60 minutes, 1 hour, bago mo siya i-coach. Pero wala namang ding masama kung i-coach mo. Yun nga lang ang point baka mapagod. Aminin natin, karamihan sa atin, ang kalaban ay inip. Pairihin na natin to o ipundal na natin to. Minsan ganun pa. So, 60 minutes. Doc, good afternoon. Is there a threshold in cervical dilatation to diagnose PROM, BRM, just as less than? Wala. Hindi tayo nagdi-depend sa cervical dilatation. Ang definition ng PROM or PPROM, if you are to diagnose pre-labor, is onset of labor. So di ba kaya ko dinidefine natin kanina yon. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng labor? Uterine contraction with associated cervical dilatation. So meaning kahit 1 centimeter pa lang yun, but it was a change from something that is close, di nagle-labor siya. Okay, meron dyan mga multipara, open ang cervix, hindi naman nagle-labor, kahit pa 2 centimeter yun. Di PPROM pa din. So it does not depend on the cervical dilatation because labor entails 2 parts, contractions and cervical dilatation. Okay? Nagle-labor ba or hindi? Kung hindi nagle-labor ang sagot, di PROM yan kung term or PPROM kung preterm. So that again is the difference between coach and uncoached. Walang difference. Nakakapagod lang pag sobrang aga ng coaching. Next is the position. Lithotomy ba or upright? Upright can be standing, squatting, kneeling. Yun yung mga tinatawag na upright. Ang sabi, it will depend again kung saan mas comfortable ang nanay. Most of the time, the mother will be comfortable in the dorsal lithotomy position. Pero syempre, merong guidelines na no one position is mandated for labor. Ibig sabihin wala tayong sinasuggest na dapat nakaupo ka or whatever. So you allow the mother to assume the position na kung saan din siya comfortable. At sabi ko nga, most of the time, dorsal lithotomy tayo. Tama rin naman yon. To help avoid femoral or lumbosacral nerve injury from lithotomy positions, hips are not overly flexed, abducted, or externally rotated for extended periods. Okay? So this is the recommendation. And most of the time, the patient will be in dorsal lithotomy. Sinabi ko na to kanina sa bladder function, lagi niyong kakapain. Baka naman kaya hindi bumababa yung ulo. Punong-puno yung bladder. Allow her to void or catheterize the bladder. So second stage na to, sabi natin kanina, kung high risk, every 5 minutes. Kung low risk, every 15 minutes ang monitoring. Okay? So, what is the correct definition of crowning? Sige nga, pakisagot nga ito. Malapit na tayo matapos. Crowning is when hindi yun ang definition ng crowning. When the vulvar ring is already dilated to almost 4 cm. When the head is soon at the introitus without separating the labia, ano siya? Parang mga +5 pa. Crowning, dapat kita mo ng box. Letter C, ang definition sa book. Okay? So when we are already ready to deliver the head, there are 2 options to control the delivery of the head. Meron tayong tinatawag na hands-on, meron tayong tinatawag na hands poised. to minimize the laceration. Ginagawa natin to, pero siguro hindi natin alam ang tawag, ay pag lumabas sa exam, bakit hindi natin alam ang isasagot. So I am now showing to you, sabi ni Dr. Borlasa again, ang HATS naman ang question mo. Ang ibig sabihin ng HATS, hindi yung maapi. Ang ibig sabihin ng HATS, higher order. Ibig sabihin, you analyze what you are seeing to arrive at the correct answer. And I would like to tell you, ang CREED magaling gumawa ng questions kahit ang PBOG, no? Hindi sila yung mga low order, mga recall questions lang. What is the first requisite for labor? Naku po, Diyos ko, baka hindi ganyan ang mga tanong ganito. Kaya dapat nasasanay daw tayo sa mga ganitong klaseng questions. Yung ina-analyze mo. O sa picture that is being shown to you, ano yan? Hands-on or hands-poised? Can you type your answer? Okay. So ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng hands-on? Pag sinabi mo daw na hands-on, so hands-on to, your one finger with your thumb and your fingers, no, is in the perineum, ito, to bolster the perineum. So ibig sabihin nung to bolster para hindi siya masyadong ma-stretch, hindi siya mawasak. Yung isang hand naman is supporting the head to keep it flexed para hindi niya masyadong ma-rupture yung perineal body. So most of us will tell na, di ba yan yung modified Ritgens? Hindi. Kasi ang specific term dito is hands-on. Yung modified Ritgens kasi is used together with episiotomy to expedite the delivery. No, hindi makalabas-labas, so ang ginawa mo, yung isang arm mo with a towel, you apply pressure on the fetal chin para lumabas while your head, yung isang kamay mo naman is holding the head, pressing it against the symphysis. Yun yung definition ng modified Ritgens. What we are using when we are supporting para hindi mawasak yung perineum is actually a hands-on technique. Okay, so to expedite delivery, if with inadequate expulsive efforts, then we do we do two things: modified Ritgens maneuver, as well as the episiotomy. And as defined, this is modified Ritgens, and this is episiotomy. That brings me to one of my initial questions a while ago. Shown is a picture of crowning, di ba? Nandun na yung head, 4 cm dilated na yung vaginal opening. Identify the best site for episiotomy. Most of you answered many letters. But can I have an answer again here? Saan ka magka-cut? Most of you are answering letter D, midline. May sumagot ng letter C. Okay. So, dito tayo lumaki tinuruan tayo ng characteristics ng midline and mediolateral. When most of the time we do the right mediolateral episiotomy, and we were taught that the midline is more advantageous to the right mediolateral in all aspects except for the probability of baka mahagip mo yung puwet at mag 4th degree. But according to the CPG, tingin lahat dito, CPG ng PPH under the topic of genital tract lacerations. And I think this is now the current recommendation, and this is one thing that we need to unlearn and relearn. If you are to cut, if you are to do an episiotomy, it is not the midline episiotomy that should be preferred. It is not letter D. Okay? Huwag kayong gagawa ng midline kung ayaw nyong mag 3rd or 4th degree. And 3rd or 4th degree would lead to oasis or obstetric anal sphincter. Hindi rin yung letter C. Kasi this is only 45 degrees. Pag yan nag-heal or kaya na talaga pwede yan mag-midline, pwede mong mawasak yung 3rd degree. The answer is letter B. No, it should be 60 degrees from the midline. Kasi pag nag-heal yon, gigitna pa rin naman yon. So it should be letter C or letter B whenever you decide to cut. Again, episiotomy is something that is indicated. Restricted, no? Restricted episiotomy. Mag-cut ka lang kung kailangan. If you are to cut, it should not be midline. it should be 60 degrees from the midline, which is letter B. Okay, tama pa rin naman tong sinasabi dito, kaya lang, pag mag-cut ka, to avoid oasis, you should not do midline episiotomy. And these are the indications for episiotomy: shoulder dystocia, bridge, persistent occiput, para lumaki-laki ng konti, operative vaginal deliveries, or when you think that pag hindi ka nag-cut, lalong magra-rupture yung perineal body. Okay? So, you cut, you do episiotomy, all answers are correct. And if you are to do episiotomy, okay, please do a right mediolateral 60 degrees from the midline. Okay? So, these are again yung significance ng episiotomy, instances where failure to perform will result in perineal rupture. Balikan ko ulit ha. Letter B ang sagot. 60 degrees from the midline. Okay. So, lumabas na ang baby. Something that you can read sa book. Kung saan, dalawang clamps. One is 6 to 8. The other one, another clamp, 2 to 3 centimeter para dun sa cord stump, di ba? Dun, usually, naglalagay naman yung pedia. Doc, delayed cord clamping pa rin po ba? Early cord clamping? It's still delayed because of these benefits. Whether the baby is term or preterm, as long as the baby is good. Kasi 'di ba, kung moribund yung baby, ang itik na bluish discoloration, ay hindi natin to pinapractice. Binibigay mo na kaagad, kinakat mo na kaagad, binibigay mo na kaagad sa pedia. But even if the baby is preterm, okay naman, umiiyak kaagad, then we observe for this time limit before we cut the cord. Okay? Anong klaseng twin gestation chorionicity ang hindi tayo nag-observe ng delayed cord clamping? In what chorionicity should we not observe delayed cord clamping in twins delivered vaginally? Or siguro kaya lang kasi kahit siguro, yeah. Pareho, delivered. So pag monochorionic is enough. Pag mono, kahit diamnion. Kasi pwede kasing merong anastomosis, no? Pag nag-delayed ka, pwedeng may transfusion ongoing to the other twin. So in monochorionic type of twins, you do not practice delayed cord clamping. So third stage begins with the delivery of the baby. So ito na yung pag-deliver ng placenta. So sa book, ito na naman si Williams, kung ano-ano naman ang pinagsasasabi, expectant and active, hindi mo malaman kung ano ang recommendation. But I think the recommendation is to do active management of the third stage. Alam na alam to ni Dr. Borlasa because she is a teacher of physiologic obstetrics, and in the book, nandun pa rin naman yung signs of placental separation. This is the expectant management. Yung you wait for the placental signs of separation. I hope you're still familiar with this. But sabi ko nga, current guidelines, active management of the third stage. Because it reduces the amount of bleeding, it somewhat prevents. Sabi kong somewhat because the practice is not absolutely protective. But it somehow prevents the amount of bleeding by doing active management of the third stage. Nakalagay dyan yung red kasi nakalagay sa Williams early cord clamping, but it mentions naman na kahit delayed cord clamping, it will not affect the active management of the third stage. So we still practice delayed cord clamping unless contraindicated. The most important part of the active management of the third stage is the giving of oxy. So kung naka-IV drip na, walang problema. Pero kung walang oxytocin, like what happened in one of our patients recently, so pagka-deliver ng baby, anterior shoulder pa nga lang na de-deliver basta sigurado kang hindi yan twins, you already give 10 units of oxytocin intramuscularly. It will not interrupt the placenta. Okay? So, first part, oxytocin. Second part is controlled cord traction with counter pressure in the uterus when the uterus is contracted. And the third part of the active management is to massage the uterus whenever it is, massage the uterus pagka-deliver ng placenta whenever it is not contracted. So, sabi, pag nag-active management ka nga, mas lesser ang amount of bleeding. The first line, uterotonic, is still oxytocin. Okay, di ba? Most of the time, we put 20 units in a liter. Ang mga guidelines lang, hindi mo pwedeng i-push ang oxy intravenously by bolus kasi pwedeng mag-cause yun ng cardiovascular collapse at mag-hypotensive yung patient. Another thing that we need to remember is if you need to give oxy, in 1 liter, kung hindi pa rin tumitigas, magdagdag ka ng unit. So, pwedeng 10 units, 20 units, 30 units, 40 units, but you do not give diluted solutions. Kasi, another side effect of oxytocin is water retention. So, pwede naman siyang mag-water intoxication. So, guidelines, do not give it intravenous bolus. We give it in a drip or you use intramuscular, then wag kayo masyadong gumamit ng diluted solution. Make it concentrated. Add some more units in the same IVF, no? Rather than using large volume in a diluted solution to avoid water intoxication. The first line is oxy, and the other drugs will become second line. Siyempre, yung second line agents like misoprostol, hindi naman natin ginagamit, methergine, carboprost, and carbetocin, no? Ginagamit natin lahat yon considering na the contraindications. Contraindication ng carboprost asthma, contraindications ng methergine is hypertension. Methergine, by the way, is not given intravenously. Never given intravenously. It should only be given intramuscular. Sa amin sa delivery room or sa labor room ng FEU, para mawala yung kalituhan. Kasi minsan, di ba, as obstetrician, pabigay nga ng methergine, pabigay nga ng carboprost, ganyan. So, meron na kaming rule that only, all uterotonics should only be given intramuscular. Para kahit bigay mo yung oxy ng intramuscular, you'll never go wrong with that. Ang ayaw namin is mabigay ang carboprost at saka yung methergine intravenously because it should not be given intravenously. Pero kung IM, pare-pareho pwede. Okay? Thought about cleaning uterine cavity after placental delivery. Wala namang ganong rule. No, as long as maganda ang delivery mo ng placenta, hindi mo basta hinaltak, di ba? May counter pressure. Nakita mo lumabas yung membranes talaga namang kompleto. When you examine the placenta after delivery complete, nandun walang naiwan, you're sure that this is not a succinturate lobe. Walang recommendation to insert your hand and clean it, 'di ba? Ano natin yun yung parang habit na kinokurage mo. Remember, even with a gloved hand, pag pinasok mo ang kamay mo sa loob, you are already increasing the probability of corporal infection. So, nothing to back yung paglilinis sa loob if you are sure naman that nothing was left behind. What is the right time to give oxytocin, which is better giving it IM, IV, IM, or both? Sabi, the best time is after the delivery of the anterior shoulder. That is the first part of the active management of the third stage. Provided walang twin yung sigurado kang walang second baby doon. So, madami naman tayo. Back tayo ng mga ultrasound na alam mong singleton. Pagka-deliver ng anterior shoulder, that's the best time to give the oxytocin intramuscular. Kasi syempre kung drip na yun, edi syempre ongoing naman na. Wala nang point pag-usapan yung best time to give it. Which is better giving it IM, IV, or both if there is no, ito nakalagay dito. If there is no intravenous access, the IM route is as effective. It is as effective. Is that same thing po, Doc, with carbetocin as uterotonic should be given IM? Ang carbetocin kasi pwede ring IV. So IM, IV ang carbetocin. Ang methergine IM lang, ang carboprost IM lang. Oxytocin is IM, IV, no? So yung kwento ko lang sa inyo kasi di ba minsan pag maraming instruction nalilito. So sabi namin lahat ng uterotonics IM. Walang magbibigay ng uterotonics ng IV. Kasi mabigay mo man ng oxy ng IM, mabigay mo man ng carbetocin ng IM, tama pa rin. Pero wag na wag niyong ibibigay ang methergine at saka ang carboprost intravenously. Clarification, sir, if patient is on oxytocin then tabled because of crowning, we will stop oxytocin drip first then resume with anterior shoulder. Hindi. Yung sinabi ko kanina that you give oxytocin as part of the active management of the third stage after the crowning is on the premise na wala kang oxy. Okay, wala kang oxy, nagko-contract ang uterus spontaneously, sabi natin pwede yun. Ako yan, nag-nipple stimulate, ang ganda, pwede yun. So, walang oxy, lumabas na yung anterior shoulder, magbigay ka na ng IM or i-hook mo na sa IV fluid. Pero syempre, kung ongoing, hindi mo siya i-stop. Hindi mo na siya i-stop. Okay, I hope that is clear. Yung pagbibigay ng when the anterior shoulder is delivered is on the premise that no oxytocin is being given. You are now giving the oxytocin in that regard for the active management of the third stage. Okay? Kung naka-oxy na, dire-diretso lang. Next, what is the meaning of placental adherence? Doc, best time to give oxy after delivery? Yes, after the delivery of the anterior shoulder, basta wala ng second baby sa loob. No need to deliver the placenta kasi the oxytocin will facilitate further the third stage. Pag nag-contract yun, remember yung attachment sa uterus, hihiwalay. Di mas lalo mong madideliver ng mabilis yung placenta during the third stage. Kaya sa active management of the third stage, the most important component is oxytocin. So kung hindi pa siya naka-oxy, it should be given after the delivery of the anterior shoulder. Kung na-oxy na, edi naka-oxy na siya, hindi mo siya ini-stop. Okay? So the answer here, kung pagod na kayo at ako rin ay pagod na, placental adherence is uterine contractions insufficient to detach the placenta. Papunta na tayo sa definition ng prolonged third stage, no? So these listed here are the ABC are the causes of prolonged third stage. Uterine contractions are insufficient to detach the placenta. Kaya dapat mag-oxy ka na prior to the delivery of the placenta. After the delivery pa lang ng anterior shoulder, mag-oxy ko na para matulungan mo yung third stage. Lower uterine segment constriction, entrapping the detached placenta, which seldom happens but it can occur. Pero hindi ka dapat matakot magbigay ng oxy prior to the delivery of the placenta or baka a morbidly adherent placenta. But the word placental adherence only refers to letter A. Uterine contractions are insufficient to detach the placenta. May oxy na po still after the third stage, can we still give carboprost? Yun yung second line, Jocelyn. Diba sabi natin, first line, uterotonic oxy. Kunyari, 20 units, pwede ka mabadagdag. Pakigawa mo ng 30, pwede nga hanggang 40. Ay, hindi pa rin enough ang oxy to contract the uterus, malambot pa din. O, di ano na, doon ka lang magse-settle for additional uterotonic. But look at me. The additional uterotonic should only be given after the delivery of the placenta in addressing anatonic uterus. Okay? Kasi if the question is, may oxy na po is still after the third stage, can we still give carboprost? Kasi if the patient is on oxy third stage pa lang tayo, hindi pa rin nadi-deliver yung placenta. Ito na nga, papunta na tayo doon. Ano ba ang definition? Ito na naman si Williams. May pa 15, may pa 30, may pa 60 minutes pa. Hindi naman tayo binigyan ng definite answer. Ang definition daw ng prolonged third stage is dependent on what type of placental delivery you are doing. If you are doing active management of the third stage, meaning naka-oxy siya, nagko-controlled contraction ka, hindi mo ma-deliver yung placenta in 30 minutes. Prolonged third stage. Pero kung active management of the third stage, nakahantay ka lang doon, waiting for the signs of placental separation, lengthening of the cord, sudden gush of blood, Calvin sign, you allow 60 minutes before you say that it is a prolonged third stage. Okay? 30 minutes for active management, 60 minutes for expectant management. Abay, lumagpas na yung time allowance mo, hindi mo pa rin nadi-deliver yung placenta, naka-oxy siya ha. Ang treatment, ang management is manual removal. Hindi ka magbibigay ng second uterotonic. Okay? The only uterotonic that you will use to deliver the third stage or to accomplish the third stage is oxy. Papasok na lang yung second line uterotonic agents like carboprost, carboprost, metrogyne and everything. Pag yung uterus atonic at hindi enough ang oxytocin to deliver the placenta. Hindi rin natin masyadong ini-infuse ng masyadong 10 to 20 ml na nakalagay dito, di ba? Hindi mo yan i-infuse ng ganyan kabilis hanggat hindi mo pa na-deliver yung placenta kasi doon tayo nagkakaroon ng risk na baka mag-entrap. Okay? Yung 10 to 20 ml per minute, which is 200 to 400 mU per minute, will only be given after the delivery of the placenta. So yung binibigay nating 10 units IM o yung usual rate natin pag nagpapaanak ka ng baby na nasa 12 drops, 6 MU, yun lang muna yung oxytocin rate mo while you are delivering the third stage. Pag natanggal mo na yung placenta, tsaka ka lang mag-i-increase to 10 to 20 ml. Or only then will you consider second line agents. Ang itinatarget mo na doon ay yung uterine atomy. Okay? But for prolonged third stage, plus oxytocin pa lang ang gamit mo dito, depending on what you are doing to deliver the third stage, 30 minutes or 60 minutes, ang allowance for the diagnosis of prolonged third stage, ang management is manual evacuation or manual removal of the placenta. Dapat marunong tayong gawin yan. Kaya nga isa yan sa mga requirements. Hindi ko matandaan kung 1 or 3 na manual removal. Okay? Doc, pinasok namin yung kamay namin. Dapat po ba kaming magbigay ng antibiotics? The recommendation is yes. As mentioned, basta pinasok mo ang kamay mo sa loob, you are increasing now the probability of puerperal infection. You have to give prophylaxis. A dose of cefazolin will do. Good afternoon. Is giving diluted oxytocin at moderate fast drip advisable? Hindi. Sinabi ko na yun kanina kasi pag diluted tapos fast drip, you are giving the patient so much fluid. Baka mag-water intoxication. I am referring to atony ha. I am referring to atony. So yung nanda-deliver na natin yung placenta, ha? Placenta. Pag nandun pa ang baby, we stick to the kaninang binigay kong preparation. 10 units in 1 liter. High dose na yung 12 drops. Start na yun ng high dose. So when you titrate contractions, di ba? You start with 12, you go to 14, you go to 16. Not so enough na magtatake systole. Yung every 1 to 2 minutes ang contraction. So kaya nga titrate according to uterine contractions. Pero pag ang ina-address na natin ay uterine atony, lumabas na yung placenta, ang uterus ay hindi pa rin nagko-contract, huwag kang magbibigay ng sobrang diluted kasi nga baka mag-water intoxication. Remember, oxytocin is just like the posterior pituitary gland hormone. Baka magkaroon siya ng water retention. So what we do is to make the fluid more concentrated rather than diluted. 20 units, 30 units, 40. Diba? Ang pinapadagdag natin is yung oxy, not the IV fluid. Okay, so that is the definition of prolonged third stage. So to answer my last question, what a parturient who just delivered 5 minutes ago is now on her third stage of labor, so hindi pa na-deliver yung placenta, pero profuse bleeding is already noted. So we wait for 30 minutes kung active management, 60 minutes kung expected management of the third stage before you call it prolonged third stage. However, if there is profuse bleeding, itanggalin mo na yung placenta. Manual removal na ang sagot. Okay? The answer here is letter D. Even if the criteria for prolonged third stage is not still met. Kasi may profuse bleeding. Okay? Ganon din sa cesarean section. Mga be. Sa cesarean section, the preferred manner of delivery pa rin of the placenta is spontaneous. Hahaltakin mo siya. Diba? Ang sarap ang hilig na hilig nating dumukot, no? Si Dr. Barlasa lang mahilig. Charot. Wag mong ipapasok yung kamay mo. Spontaneous muna. Naputulan ka ng cord, wala ka magagawa, ipapasok mo siya. Pero hanggat kaya mong i-deliver spontaneously vaginally or CS, Mas maganda pa rin ang spontaneous delivery of the placenta compared to manual evacuation. Okay? Birth canal laceration, I answered this already. For the interest of time, pakita ko na yung sagot. Oasis include 3rd degree and 4th degree tear. So, pag anatomy ang pinag-usapan, diniscuss to sa inyo ni Dr. Cagayan last Sunday. So, 1st degree, I hope you are familiar with anatomy. The same with 2nd degree. For 3rd degree, we call it 3A, 3B, 3C. And pag 4th degree, there is already involvement of the anal mucosa. Both 3rd degree as well as 4th degree constitute oasis, and oasis is a complication whenever we do median episiotomy and repair. So if you will cut, please cut it away from the median, and away from the median is 60 degrees from the median. Okay? Ang pasyente nasa labor room na, nasa pako na, wag niyo siyang masyadong iwanan kasi if she tells you, Doc, masakit, wag niyong sabihin, normal lang yan kasi nag-cut kami. You always have to rule out the probability of hematoma. Okay? Pain may be a signal of a large bulbar, paravaginal, ischiorectal hematoma, or perineal cellulitis. It is essential to examine these sites carefully if pain is severe or persistent. 4th stage of labor, so nasa phase 4 ng parturition until fertility is restored. So ilang weeks pa yun? Ilang weeks ba ang puerperium? 6. So ito yung tinatawag nating 4th stage. Ang manner o ang frequency ng monitoring every 15 minutes. Last slide na to. Every 15 minutes. So minsan kasi kaya ko to ine-emphasize, yung pasyente 24 hours nang nakapanganak, yung vital signs monitoring nasa every 15 minutes pa rin. Kawawa naman yung pasyente. 'Di ba ang mga clerks intern sunod-sunuran naman sa inyo yan eh. So pag hindi nyo dinedebak, susunod lang at susunod, baka ma-demerit. Maawa naman kayo doon sa nagmo-monitor, maawa rin kayo sa pasyente. Try to debug, no? Yun lang, nasa 2 hours dun lang tayo every 15. Pag stable, pag dinala na sa room, be sure to clear the patient before the patient is brought to the room. Trabaho natin yun, hindi yung trabaho ng nurses. Make sure na walang hematoma, walang naiwang nagbi-bleed or whatever. Nakakita na ako ng kaso na from the pako dinala sa kwarto dahil hindi in-examine, namatay sa kwarto. Kasi yung pala, yung pasyente nagbi-bleed na nagbi-bleed, no? Nag-aaton, hindi na-examine kasi naka-diaper. Wala nag-examine. So, kapabayaan ba yun sa part natin? Hindi, syempre. So, do not think that when the patient is already delivered, tapos na. Minsan dun pa nga nangyayari lahat ng mga pwedeng pangit na mangyari. The first 24 hours after delivery. So please examine the patient before you clear her to go back to the room. And pero kung stable naman, every 15 minutes, every na beat, pwede nyo nang gawing every 4 hours. Or pwede nga sabi ko, when the patient is already, is just awake. Before I end, this is really the ending. So thank you so much for participating. Ito yung kauna-unahang favor na hiningi ko kanina. Wala akong nakikita. It's just me. No, nothing is in the screen. It's just me. But the answer I see in the Q&A box enabled me to pare-pareho tayo. It enabled me to withstand. Ilang oras ba ako nag-lecture? 4 ba? 5. This, and I hope everybody learned from, kahit basic, I hope everybody learned from the lecture. Meron lang hinihinging favor sa akin ng aming dakilang secretary, si Kuya Russell, no? So I am a part of the 8 Seeds faculty. We give review for those who are taking the diplomate exam, both written and oral. So the first oral review will be given this January next year for those who will be taking the oral exam by March, and the second oral review is given June in preparation for the oral exam naman ng August. And for the written, kayo yon, kasi kayo yung pag yung mga graduate na ng residency 4th year, no, if you are qualified to take the part 1, we give review during May in preparation for the written exam ng July. So this is a shameless announcement. Pero gusto ko lang sabihin siya sa'yo that we are also conducting reviews for the exam. Okay? So I think that's it for the review on labor and dystocia. Thank you so much for attending. and for participating.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olivar, for that 5-hour extensive lectures. So maraming salamat po, Doc. And I think now to officially close our program, here is Mr. Sherwin Morados of BSP.
On behalf of BSB Bioscience and our entire team, I'd like to express our sincere thanks to each of you for joining today's in-service review session. A special note of appreciation goes to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Joseph Olivar, for generously sharing your time and expertise. Your insights have truly added value and clarity as we all gear up for the upcoming in-service exam. We hope today's sessions not only reinforced your knowledge but also gave you a boost of confidence as you continue your preparation. Please know that the BSB Bioscience remains committed to supporting you, not just during this review series, but throughout your professional journey. We look forward to strengthen our partnership as we work together towards excellence in women's healthcare. A new Zoom link will be sent to you by our BSB representative next week. Thank you once again, doctors. See you next Sunday for our next session. Stay motivated, stay focused, and best of luck with your review.
Thank you very much, Sir Sherwin, for that closing
Recording
remark.
stopped.
So again, see you on September 14 for our day 7 of our RISE review. Thank you.